Kate Hall and Peter Schielen contacted me and asked me if I could find out more about Gunnar Jungner. And as a first step, I consulted the telephone dictionary and looked how many Jungners are there. Maybe I could just phone one of them. And that's what I did, because there weren't so many. So I picked one and phoned, and at the other end, somebody very distinctly answered, Jungner. I introduced myself and asked him if he was possibly related to Gunnar Jungner. That was my father, he said. And that was Lars Jungner, who is here. Then I continued to ask him about what we were going to do, and I asked him if he knew anything about the principles and practice of screening for disease, and he said he did know about it, but not very much more, because he was not aware of the details of his father's job, and he has also left for Australia just when all these things happened, because as a young man he left and went to Australia. So Lars Jungner recommended me to contact Gunnar Jungner's 10-year younger brother, who was also a doctor working with clinical chemistry. So a colleague of mine and myself were invited to come to this brother, Ingmar Jungner, who has given a lot of information about the career of Gunnar Jungner. And this is one of the bases for the speech that Lars is going to give. Lars Jungner has been programming computers, been an expert in programming computers, and is a master of business administration. He has 3 daughters, he has retired, and he lives in Stockholm. And we are very happy to have you here. We are very happy that you have said yes to come here and talk about your father. So please.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to represent my father. And I also want to thank the management and staff of ISNS who has arranged this meeting through their dedication and hard work. It's much appreciated. Okay, start from the beginning. My father was born in 1914 in southwest of Sweden, and he had a quiet upbringing. His father, my grandfather, was a PhD in history and worked as a headmaster and teacher. And he was also well known because he was a real specialist when it comes to runestones. And you can see the picture, the very famous runestone, the Sporis. It's around the year 800 AD, give or take a week or so. So, yes. Okay, my father was a top student, and there was an incident. He was interested in chemistry all through his life, and he, with an experiment, he set fire to the staircase, but the fire department saved his behind in that respect. Anyway, he was a top student, and he had no problem in school. Everything just worked fine for him. And when he matriculated, he had top grades. He could choose whatever he wanted to do. And he could choose medicine because his aunt was one of the first female physicians in Sweden. And also he was very interested in engineering, becoming a civil engineer. But he chose medicine, that's why we are here, and he studied medicine at the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm, and in parallel worked on his thesis at the Department of Medical Chemistry. You can see on the picture, that's the old Karolinska Institute. It looks very nice, but they have rebuilt it. It doesn't look as nice, but it's much more efficient. Then, see here, yes. At the time, it was a hard time for him. He was studying hard, but he also got married. So this is a wedding picture, and it was my mother, Greta Nelson, and they had 2 children, my older sister, Gudrun, and myself. And all the time, he was finishing his education, and he became a MD in 43 and finished his PhD thesis in 1945. Then he became an associate professor at Carolinian Institute in the same year. He looks very young, doesn't he? Yes. That's what you being a top student, you're always the youngest. Okay, and then we moved up north, Umeå, in North Sweden, because he was offered a position as a head of a central laboratory at a very good hospital up north. So between 1946 and 52, we lived up there. And he was also helping the military. The two northern regiments of Sweden were up there, and so he became a physician for them. And this military commitment made that when the Korean War broke out, the Swedish Red Cross wanted to start a field hospital. And so he was appointed chief of that. So he became, from being a major in the Swedish army, he became a colonel in Korea. This is difficult to see. No, it's easy for you than for me. But anyway, it's a very nice, gracious letter from Edwina Mountbatten, the wife of Lord Mountbatten, who was the last viceroy of India. And a very kind letter, much appreciated. And he also got authorized executive order by the President of the United States for his efforts in Korea. It was much appreciated. Anyway, in 1954, he was offered a position to be moved to Gothenburg, at the southwest in Sweden, and he became head of the Department of Clinical Chemistry. And he took a break from that a year, because the whole family moved to Bethesda in Maryland in the United States, where he was become a visiting scientist with George C. Williams and Department of Clinical Pathology. And there he was inspired to build an automatic chemistry analyzer with the aim to perform health screening. There's a picture here. See now, that's my father. Oh, I screwed up now. Okay. Anyway, there he is. Can you see it? Oh, you can't see it, but anyway, second from the right of the sitting, that's my father, and second from the left is his boss then, George C. William. And here he is, returned to Sweden. He started to build a prototype, much with his own hands, and with the help of his 10-year younger brother, Ingmar, also MD, associate professor, plus two instrumental engineers, and we'd say here volunteering medical students. They were told to help. Volunteering is something, you know. And here they are, the two brothers. My father to the left and his 10-year-old younger Ingmar, and they worked together until my father died. You can see there's a lot of machinery in the background. Well, that's the autochemist. The equipment in use from around 1962 could analyze 10 different clinical chemistry variables. The capacity was 480 serum analysis per hour, or approximately 5,000 analysis per day. It was connected to a unit for registration of the patients, and with the printer, of course, to get the results. This was the first multi-analyzer for clinical chemistry in Sweden. And the Swedish National Board of Health decided to launch a health screening trial with the help of his equipment. It's called the Värmland Survey, and you can see the red part, that's the Värmland County. Included in the study were 90,000 persons over the age of 25. It was performed together with a screening by mass miniature photofluorography of the chest, which had been going on since the 1940s. A team of paramedics took the history of the individual, measured height, weight, and blood pressure, and an X-ray of the chest was performed. Urine was tested for albumin and sugar, and the serum was sent to the laboratory in Stockholm. Cases with aberrant results were referred to local doctors. More than 1 million analyses were made within 25 months during the years 1962 and 64. The samples were transported by train to Stockholm on a daily basis. A total of 7,620 persons were referred for follow-ups, and 6,804 diagnoses were recorded in 5,539 persons. There were some limitations. There were missed some cases of malignancies, and also there was a long waiting time to come to local doctors. My father was invited to attend several international meetings in the early and middle 60s, as you heard from Philip just before. And they were dealing with the pre-symptomatic screening in Europe and USA, and he became a close friend of Maurice Collin, who was performing health screening in California. We know that he met Maxwell Wilson at these meetings, that they became friends, and they were visiting each other's homes in England and in Sweden. And my father presented a paper at a meeting arranged by the WHO in Prague in 1964. And as had been mentioned before by Philip, the Principles and Practice was published in 1968. And now we have a picture. It was taken by Maxwell Wilson. Took a picture of my parents outside our home in Gothenburg. My father resigned from his position in Gothenburg in 1964 due to repeated heart attacks. He was in bad shape, really, at times. So the family moved to Stockholm, where he worked as a senior medical officer, the planning division of the medical board of the Swedish Armed Forces, 1968-72. Probably had something to do with Korea and all that. Well, anyway, the Swedish International Corporation, AGA, agreed to produce the equipment named the Autochemist, which was exported to several countries around the world. My father and his brother, Ingmar, built a laboratory, Carlab, the Central Automation Laboratory. And also an outpatient ward was created where people could come for health controls, the multi-test center. This is just an example of the brochure. The front side, you can see the machine there, and also this is the back side of the brochure. And it came to an end very rapidly at the end. My father died in 1982 at the age of 67. A large database of test results from close to 1 million persons, healthy as well as not, was built, and later Ingmar Jungner, the younger brother, donated the database to Karolinska Institute through the foundation of Gunnar and Ingmar Jungner, and it's used today for epidemiological studies. Now, he was a workaholic, and it killed him, but sometimes he really broke off. No telephones, not anything. So here, a few years before his death, parents are in Canary Islands, and I see they brought 2 of the grandchildren as well. So anyway, that's my father, Gunnar Jungner. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much.